mode.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the LGC and New Hampshire Partners for Healthy Schools webinar. Today is your role in preparing the school for summer vacation. Just a few things to make this process a little bit easier for you. First of all, we'll be sending a fact sheet and an evaluation to you at the conclusion of today's presentation. It'll probably come in the next 24 to 48 hours, so just keep an eye on your email. It will come from Christian Pearsall. We ask that you fill out that evaluation so that it can help us improve future programming for our members out there. And also your fact sheet, which will basically carry a lot of the information we covered today so that you have access to that information as well. And for those of your friends who couldn't be at today's webinar, this presentation will be recorded and a link to that will be sent out to all the participants. So please feel free to share that with your coworkers and your other friends. Okay, how to participate today? Just a few things. You have a panel that's on the right side of your screen. To open and close that, just press the little orange arrow, as I do right here. Next, throughout the presentation, you may want to submit questions to us because you're intrigued by a particular component of the presentation, or, for instance, you may have a technical difficulty throughout the presentation and you want to address that. Please type that in the text box, the one that's highlighted in the orange square. Just as a heads up, the questions and answers will be taken at the end of today's session, so please hold tight and we'll gladly take those at the conclusion of the webinar. And then lastly, we have a raise your hand feature, and we're going to give us a little test right now. And our question for you today is, how many people routinely take time to clean out their classroom at the end of the school year? So if you could take a moment to click the little hand on your text box. Uh-oh. We've got one. All right. So 10% of our, oh, wait, we've got a few more. So people are finding the hand. We've got about 20% of our participants routinely clear their room prior to the conclusion of the school year. So I'm going to take a moment to introduce our speakers. Yeah, let me find my mouse. I'm going to see if I can do this without causing chaos. Is this theirs? Yep. Okay. Nope. All right, hold on, everybody. I clicked it. All right, let's see. Minor technical difficulty here. Back. All right, thank you, everyone. I want to introduce our first, our panel of speakers today. We have Beverly Druin from the New Hampshire Asthma Control Program. She's also the chairperson of the New Hampshire Partners for Healthy Schools, which is sponsoring this event today. We have Janet Bro from Laconia School District. She's the administrative assistant to the superintendent of schools. And we have Sandy Rhee, who is the organization guru behind a lot of the positive changes that they saw in the Laconia School District. And I'm Tim Parsons, your moderator for today. So you won't hear much from me other than maybe asking a few of your questions to the presenters. So I'm going to pass this on to Beverly and let her take over from here. And technology is not playing nice with us. All right, let's see. We'll get it eventually. There we go.
So thank you, Tim, for having us here today. Again, my name is Beverly Druin, and I work at the state of New Hampshire in the Division of Public Health. I work in the Asthma Control Healthy Homes program, and one of my many jobs up there is to facilitate the New Hampshire Partners for Healthy School work group. So for those of you who are not familiar with what New Hampshire Partners for Healthy Schools is, it's a group of partners, a combination of state and non-state, profit, non-profit, partners who together have the goal of improving indoor air quality in schools so we can reduce the impact of asthma in our school system in the state of New Hampshire. For those of you who don't know New Hampshire has above average rates of asthma in this part of the country, higher than the national average. 8.6% of our children have asthma, 10.2% of our adults have asthma. So in New Hampshire, we have about 3,500 newly diagnosed cases of asthma each year. It's a real growing demographic. There's so much data now that supports asthma's impact in the school system. So I just wanted to go over a couple things of what asthma's impact is on learning. Why do we care? Why is a clean classroom important? Well, first of all, you can't teach children who aren't there. Asthma is the #1 leading cause of school absenteeism in the United States. 14 million missed school days each year from asthma alone. You can't teach children who are sick. If they're not feeling well, they're not going to learn. Children with asthma don't sleep as well, so you can't teach someone as well who's sleep deprived. So generally, all the data shows that children learn better in classrooms with fresh air. No one's objecting to that. There's data there that shows that. So in the asthma world, asthma is either caused by something or it can be triggered by something. Sometimes you hear people use the word exacerbated. That's just a fancy word for triggered. So if any of you have asthma or anybody in your family has asthma, you know that certain things make it worse. So in our school system and in our homes, some of the cleaning and pesticide products can trigger asthma. Furnishings can trigger asthma. When we talk about furnishings, I'm primarily talking about upholstered fabric. So chairs, curtains, bulletin boards that are covered with fabric, teddy bears, pillows, beanie babies. These things trigger asthma.
And Beverly, would you say is it a wise idea for a school district then to allow teachers to bring in, say, a couch that they found at a yard sale?
It's not a good idea at all, and we're going to go into that further, but a lot of schools have policies prohibiting people bringing furnishing from home. We know why teachers like it. It creates a nice cushy atmosphere, but it's not a good thing. So HVAC systems, a lot of our school systems might have new ones, but if you have an older one that's not cleaned routinely or has mold or water or animals living in it, it's supplying dirty air to the classroom. When I talk about outdoor pollutants, I'm talking about a couple things. So we can have school buses idling right in front of the schools that are bringing in nitrogen compounds, carbon monoxide into the school, or we can just be bringing in pollen. I mean, right now we've just coming out of lilac season. It's a snowstorm outside, and it creates a lot of breathing problems for people with upper respiratory problems. Carpeting. New carpeting off-gases formaldehyde and other chemicals, but old carpeting's just plain dirty. And people love to wash it, but it's really hard to wash and dry carpeting fast enough here in New England. So carpeting's a problem. Personal care products. A woman today cannot get dressed in the morning without putting on several things with fragrance. So I wash my hair with something that has fragrance. I put mousse in my hair with fragrance. My deodorant has fragrance. My lip balm has fragrance. My clothing, my detergent I wash my clothes with has fragrance. All of those things can trigger asthma. If you can smell something, it's got a scent that can trigger asthma. Now, animal dander. I know a lot of you have schools that have no pet policies, but many schools still don't. A lot of schools are still bringing in guinea pigs, gerbils, I don't know what have you. I've been in a school system in a while. So people either have pets in the classroom or children can bring hair on their clothing. So if I have a cat at home and I come to school and my fleece is covered with cat hair and I'm sitting next to a child who has allergies or asthma, that dander can cause an allergic reaction.
I recently learned from a veterinarian that having gerbils and stuff, especially with young kids, increases the stress for the animal and they live half the normal lifespan. So it's probably better that they stay outside of the school anyways.
I tell you, it's no surprise the way they get handled in a school system, those poor little things. So mold and moisture. You can have water infiltration in your classroom, just leaky pipes, leaky unit ventilators under the sink. You can have children who come in with wet snowsuits, turn them inside out, and that can create a mold. You can have fish tanks that create moisture. You can have some sort of a water event, waterfalls that have mold. Plants. When plant leaves fall and decay in the soil, that creates a mold. So any moisture and mold has an impact on the indoor air quality. Dust. This is not just dust from regular household dust, but this can be dust mites also. And we all have dust mites on all of our bodies, and then all those stuffed animals and fabric have dust mites. So all of these things can have an impact. So I wanted to show you a couple photos here. Now I'm not going to show you anything that all of you have a classroom in your school that looks like this. You might have several that look like this. There's not a smooth surface on this classroom or in this classroom for a custodian to come in and clean. So when a custodian comes in and cleans at night, the best they can do is clean the little smooth surface on the floor. There's no way that they can dust in here. They can't wet wash. They can't do anything to these type of surfaces. So a classroom like this really never gets cleaned well. It's just a mountain of paper fibers and dust, and this is just like a house with too many knickknacks. It's impossible to clean. So the New Hampshire Partners for Healthy Schools wanted to help all of you with classroom clean out. So we put together this two-sided fact sheet, which we're going to send to you in the next day or two. And all it is some easy tips on how to prepare your classroom. So this is the material we're going to cover today. So why do we care? So some of you care just because you love the kids, but you all come at it from a different angle. So when we improve indoor air quality and we have less asthma in school, we have lower absentee rates, higher test scores. There's a lot of reasons. You can concentrate on teaching. Kids can concentrate on learning. It models good behaviors. There's many reasons why you'd want to do this. For teachers in a clean classroom, they're not wasting time looking for things. Kids are able to clean up after themselves at the end of the day. It's easier to clean. It's faster to clean. So I always think when we were little, we thought summer vacation went on forever, but now we know that there's only 10 or 11 weeks, 12 weeks in the summer for the custodian and facility staff to do all their jobs. So that's maintenance, some construction projects, some cleaning. So we want to help them do their jobs better. So we're talking about faculty, staff, administrators. Everybody can do their part to get the classroom ready. So I want to turn it over to Sandy now. Sandy is a friend of mine that I've met recently. She's the organization guru, and she's worked with the Laconia School District. So she does this for a living and is partnered with Laconia, and she's going to tell you a little bit how they got started up there.
Well, I want to start by saying, thank you, Beverly. I want to start by saying that I know where teachers have been. I was a school teacher for almost 15 years. I taught middle school and high school math. And so the idea of packing up a classroom for the summer and doing all of this is old hat to me as well. So I feel like I have a little bit of expertise where maybe some others don't. As Beverly said, I have partnered with the Laconia School District to help their teachers get organized in their classrooms. And the New Hampshire Partners for Healthy Schools invited me to help give some tips on decluttering classrooms and packing them up for the summer months. The classroom clean-out checklist that Beverly spoke about will be given to you after the seminar today. However, if you're interested in getting it more quickly, you can also go to www.nhhealthysschoolenvironments.org under the tab, What Can You Do Today? And there you'll find the classroom checkout list. When you clean out your classroom and box up items for the summer, it's a great opportunity to declutter and remove materials you will never use again. If you reduce clutter, it's easier for you and the custodians to keep your room clean. Therefore, it's a great opportunity to make your classroom a healthier place for both you and your students. If you pack up only the materials that you actually need to keep, you also will make it easier on yourself when it comes time to unpack in the beginning of the next school year. So use those recycle, giveaway, and toss boxes as much as you possibly can. Here's a couple of things to keep in mind. Many teachers inherit material when they move into their classrooms. Very rarely do we come into a classroom that is completely empty. Oftentimes, the teacher who was there previously has left materials, and sometimes that was from the teacher that was there before them, and so on and so on. I have actually found stuff that was 30 plus years old in my classroom at various times. It was interesting because that was older than me at that particular moment in time.
It is astonishing.
Yes. And you wonder how, granted, geometry and mathematical concepts haven't changed in 30 years, but the way we teach them sure has. So if this is the case for you, please remember, you do not have to keep something just because it came with your room. You have permission to get rid of it. And when I say get rid of, I don't mean necessarily trash. That will give some of you the shudders. I do actually mean recycle as much as possible. Give away the things that are actually valuable to others, not just put things in the trash. By the same token, if you're moving along at the end of this school year, please take your stuff with you. If you don't want it, make every effort to give it away, and if nobody wants it, it really needs to go away completely. It is much better to recycle it than to keep it in the school taking up space, because every bit of space you take up is real estate that could be for something that is very useful. Space is finite, and too much stuff in any space can be both emotionally depressing and can lead to a sort of paralysis due to being completely overwhelmed. If you cannot stand the thought of something being recycled or put in the trash, please contact me, and my email is at the end, and I can help you find a charitable organization that will pay things forward for you. There are a lot of developing countries that will use those school materials even if they're a little bit outdated. All right, now what? The first thing to do when you're going to pack up or start a decluttering process is to pick a starting point. You can choose the part of the room that will make the biggest difference for you if it's uncluttered, whether that be emotionally or just physically make it more easy for you. And if in doubt, just simply start at your desk. Then move around the room. I just randomly picked clockwise because, well, that makes sense to me. But move around the room in an orderly fashion so that things don't get lost or passed over. As you go, pare down excess as well as materials that will not be used again. Again, better not to pack them up at all, and that will save you from having to unpack them at the end of the summer. Now, you're probably thinking school hasn't ended yet, and that's true. We have probably another 4 weeks or so left of school this year. However, you don't want to leave it all till the last minute, or you will simply flat out run out of time, and it will be completely an overwhelming task for you. So, begin with the things that you know you're finished with. The start of the year materials can be put together all in one place, one box, one bin, and labeled as such so that it's very easy to find when it's time to unpack. Holiday decor and materials of things that have already passed over. Any paperwork that you know for sure you're not going to be using again, and any materials that you know you don't want. It's very easy to walk around the room with a basket or a box and just pick up the things that you know for sure you're never going to use. Hint, look behind all the things that you do use all the time that are piled up in front of those things that haven't been used since the beginning of the school year. Now the question is, what do you do with it? Well, according to the screen here, you can see that clear plastic bins are what we're recommending. The reason we want clear is because it's easy to identify what's in them. The reason we want plastic is because they're easy to wipe down and dust at any point in time in the year. Paper boxes don't work quite as well, and they eventually degrade as well. Use large labels. Make sure you tell what you put in each box so that you know where it is, and make that label so that you can see it. I highly recommend that you label on the front and one side of a box. That way, if boxes need to get stacked one way or another, you always have a side that's labeled facing outward so you can determine what's in it without having to search through stacks of things. When you're putting things into your boxes, think of like with like. Gather all the worksheets and student papers together in one area. They may take up more than one bin, but they should all be together. Art paper, construction paper, etc. should all go together. Other art supplies, reading material, etc. Depending on your level of teaching and what grade you are in. And please do keep in mind I'm speaking specifically teachers here, but this also goes for office staff and any kind of support staff. Like with like still works for you too. You just may not have the same categories that the teachers would have. When you see broad categories of things, you may be able to pare down the excess. For example, you may find when you put them all together that you have 32 pairs of scissors, but your max in your classroom is 22 students. You don't need 32 pairs of students for 22. Consider moving those along to a teacher who's just starting out next year and can't necessarily afford to go and buy all those things brand new, right out of college, and they will be eternally grateful to you. As you go through, you should also ask yourself, why are you keeping the things you choose to keep? As you look at your things, ask, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen if I don't have this, whatever this may be at that particular moment? Just about anything can be found online these days, and you don't have to keep extras just in case. This applies to extra copies as well as extra lessons. For example, you're teaching addition for math. You probably want to keep 4 or 5 different lesson topics that you can build off of. But if you're getting up to having 20 or 30 different things, chances are you're not going to use all of those in one year, so it's time to move on the ones that you know you're not going to use. Keep your favorites. That's the best way to do it. When you are dealing with your paperwork, try to keep as much as possible in electronic format. But keep it ordered much as you would a file cabinet, for example. Organization could be based on the time of year you use it, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, beginning of the year, middle of the year, etc. It could be based on subject, unit, topic. Whatever your category is fine. There's no right or wrong answer. You just want to pick one and stick with it. Remember that it's often easier if you don't have way too much stuff. It's also true in electronic format. Unfortunately, when things are in electronic format, you can't see the piles that are there, so it's not a physical thing where you can see when you're being overwhelmed. However, if you don't have the room for it, do try and pare down electronics as well. Keep as much as you want if you can easily find what you need when you need it. However, if you're overwhelmed by the sheer amount of topics, the amount of paperwork that you have, try and pare down to only keep what you actually need. If you have papers that refer to things that are socially outdated, it's better to get rid of them than to allow it to cause confusion. I know that when I was teaching, I spent a lot of time talking about music, and my terms of choice were cassette tapes and even way back when to 8-tracks. And you say words like that today and the kids get confused and your subject has gone off of the lesson you're trying to teach and onto what the lesson is consisting of. So if it's socially outdated, just go ahead and get rid of it. One more thing, say it again, remember, only box up the materials you actually want and will use. It will make packing up easier and it will make unpacking easier as well. Now, moving back into the checklist itself, this is, after all, an idea of the classroom cleaning checklist, what you can do to prepare for summer vacation. The next few slides are going to discuss things of that nature. Food. Remove all food and beverages from the classroom. I think that's an obvious. However, it's amazing how many people don't do this, and over the summer, moldy and unidentifiable food can be found. Wash down the inside of any refrigerator that you have. Most schools won't allow you to have them in your classroom, but if you do, please make sure you give it a good cleaning. Wall decorations, take it all down. Material from bulletin boards, tapestries, posters, charts, artwork, etc. If you take it down, the walls can be cleaned and dusted, which will set you up for an excellent beginning of the school year next year.
Now, as far as refrigerators go, should teachers unplug them for the summertime if they're not going to be used, or does that run a risk of the defrosting process to occur and causing more of an issue?
Well, you want to take care of the defrosting purpose before you actually leave for the summer, because yes, when you do unplug it, and you do want to unplug it, all of that ice that's there will indeed melt. Fill it full of towels. Beach towels work really well, and take care of all of that. Then be sure to leave the door propped open during the summer. You do not want to come back in the fall and have an interesting smell that will not go away for the entire rest of the school year.
Great for science class, not good for asthma.
Definitely. Well, not good for those of us that appreciate nice smelling things either. And we don't have to have asthma in order to have that, but yes, especially for those with asthma. All right, plants, animals, and fish tanks. You want to find a summer home for all of them. You cannot leave those at the school for very obvious reasons. They wouldn't still be there when you get back. Humidifiers and air purifiers are not meant for classrooms. They are often made for a given space, and oftentimes classrooms are much larger than what those are rated for. They can also, humidifiers can cause mold problems. Some make ozone, which is a toxin, and mold and ozone both can trigger asthma attacks. So if you have one of those, take it home, leave it at home. Any fabric that you do have in your classroom, take it home and launder it. This is a good thing to do mid-year as well. Every 6 weeks, every month, whatever time frame you can remember, take those things home, launder them well. It's best not to have them at all, but if you are going to have them and your school allows them, make sure they are as clean as they can possibly be. As was said earlier, dust can trigger any kind of an asthma attack, and it doesn't have to be just the child sitting on it. It can be just in the room. Clean out your filing cabinets and closets. This is part of what I was talking about earlier. Put like with like, paperwork together, supplies together, etc. If you want to go through your things, take some of them home with you through the summer. That's a great, more relaxed time. You can sit in front of your favorite TV show and go through those things that need to be gone through. Especially with only a month left in school, you may run out of time prior to the school year, actually being over. Much paperwork can be recycled because it's not very necessary to have it again for the following year. Classroom ventilation is a big one. Unblock all of your ventilation areas, your unit ventilators, air supplies, air returns, etc. Those can't be cleaned if they're blocked, if they've got boxes in front of them, if they've got doors opened and propped open in front of them, etc. So please make sure that all of those are accessible easily so that everyone who is in charge of cleaning them can get to them.
And in turn, we want to make sure that they remain unblocked because that's how they work best, is when they're not impeded to allow that positive airflow.
Tim is exactly correct on that. Moisture. If you do find moisture, it is your responsibility to please bring it to the attention of whoever it is in your building that does the facility management. If you see ceiling tiles that are starting to have moisture visible on them, any pipe leaks, sink leaks, etc., please just bring that to the attention. Here is a picture example of a classroom that had a lot of stuff that is all piled up above on top of a cabinet. What's unfortunate is there a vent up there? I personally cannot tell. If you have the ability to see if there's a vent up there, great. If not, you don't want to take the chance on blocking it. On top of that, all of those papers are going to degrade over time, filling the room full of the paper fibers, and since they're close to the ceiling, they get caught up in the airflows, which then creates all of that dust down in the classroom. Better that these supplies be in plastic tubs where they can be dusted off and brought down as a whole group and used appropriately and then put back up when you're finished. And a couple of other, these are very obvious. You do want to check your registers, your air returns, and your vents for any signs of mold. Sometimes they can be very, very obvious, as is the case. This is an actual teacher's classroom. Two separate teachers, pardon me, and these are indicators that there's a problem that needs to be fixed. Construction paper, especially for those of us teaching in the younger grades, we've got lots of it. Construction paper actually has a shelf life of about 2 years. After that, it starts to deteriorate and break down and release its fibers. So if you have old construction paper, go ahead and recycle it. If it's getting close to the end of its life and you know you're not going to use it quickly, try and trade or pass it on to someone who will use it up quickly. Art supplies. Try and watch for only low emission markers, whiteboard cleaner, and art supplies. If you use spray adhesives, contact cement, or volatile paints, pass them on to an adult who can use them safely. Those do not belong in classrooms where children can get a hold of them. Better to not have them in there at all. If they do need to be somewhere, the art room is probably the appropriate place where they've got the proper systems set up to handle those sorts of things. Final idea, rotate your classroom materials. And what I mean by this is, let's say you have a library for your students and they are allowed to go up and pick books. If you put half out at the beginning of the year and the other half out at the second half of the year, you're benefiting the kids, because then they're not getting bored with what's there at the beginning, and you've got this brand new, more exciting thing to hold their interest even mid-year. You can rotate anything: toys, books, games, decorations, art supplies, etc. It makes things fresh at random times, and it makes your job a bit easier. On top of that, by having half or two-thirds of your materials boxed up in your plastic bins, they're not out creating clutter where you have to clean around them, and so that makes it easier in that respect as well. Now, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Janet Bro, who is with the Laconia School District, and she's going to talk to you some more about some exciting things that Laconia has been doing.
Thank you, Sandy. My name is Janet Bro, and I'm an administrative assistant to the superintendent of the Laconia School District. I've worked there for about 15 years. In October of 2007, our school district formed a green team as a simple effort to recycle bottles and paper in our schools, but has resulted in the savings of thousands of dollars to our district with energy conservation ideas. Our green team is comprised of teachers, students, paraeducators, secretaries, facility managers, district business manager, building level administrators, our district food service director, and our district technology coordinator. At the start of 2010-2011 school year, we implemented the use of green cleaning techniques and products, setting up classrooms for better air quality and efficient cleaning. Our facility managers are acting as our indoor air quality managers. We also offered to our classroom teachers the opportunity to take part in an extreme classroom makeover. This consisted of helping teachers to reorganize and declutter their classrooms to address the indoor air quality. What we did is we went into classrooms and the teachers participated with us. We went in and cleaned everything out and tried to give them some kind of organization. And here you'll see a classroom library. It was a 5th grade classroom. Things were kind of piled up against the heater vents. We moved those out, made a nice little reading area. The teacher put half of her books away and just left the half of the classroom library out there and then rotated them in. On the left, you'll see the closet before we organized it. As you can see, it's disorganized. She didn't know where anything was. We got little plastic bins and labeled them and put everything in there, and now it's very easy for her to see what's available.
I can see where earlier we talked about how people become overwhelmed and they don't know where to start, because I look at that and I wonder, where would I start? And then it becomes overwhelming.
Right.
Stressing me out is not my closet.
I kind of equate it to a weight loss. If you have 100 pounds to lose, that's overwhelming, so you lose 5 pounds. Yeah. So like Sandy says, you start small and work around. So it's workable. And here we had a classroom. You'll see on the top left hand, items are piled on top of the vents. Once again, there's paper on the boards. That breaks down. So what we did is we worked with this teacher. We cleared all the vents off. We took the paper off the bulletin boards. One idea, if you don't like the color of the bulletin boards, they can be painted, and you can change it from year to year. There's a close-up of that. There's no way that air can circulate properly with that M&M container on there.
That's my size bag of
There
M&Ms.
we go. I'm with you. Once again, here's a teacher's area, her desk area on the left. That's what it was before. Now, how could she possibly find anything in that area? So down in the bottom right, we reorganized that for her. Much neater, much more easily accessible. Put a bulletin board up with things that she needed at that particular time of year. Works very well for her.
I'd be willing to bet in that particular situation that a lot of that excess just simply went away rather than being organized and put somewhere nice and neat. Is that
That's
the
correct.
case?
I think we filled up 5 big rolling
30-yard
garbage. Yeah,
dumpsters.
30. Yeah, you
Wow.
got it. Once again, here was the classroom reading area on the left, and down on the right, we reorganized that, cleaned it up, took the rug off the floor, much easier to clean. The students, much more acceptable for them. A lot of our students, I think on the average, kids come from chaotic households, and to come into a classroom is chaotic as well is just not conducive to learning. This isn't one of our classrooms, but it is very nicely organized, colorful. Everything has its place. This is one of our classrooms in our new Laconia Middle School. We have the overhead projectors, so that's very helpful, but everything's nice and neat. I don't know, you can imagine how you feel in a classroom like that.
Janet, it looks so easy for a custodian to come in and clean.
Right, I agree.
I mean, there's so much smooth surface.
Yep. And it's just easy to maintain. This is not one of ours, but once again, everything is nice and neat, easy to clean.
I remember reading a statistic from the Jordan Institute where they had stated that students that have access to clean air and natural light score up to 15% better than their counterparts. So
You're right.
just another thing to keep in mind, it's not just about can they breathe well, it's also about what does it mean for their test scores.
Right.
And in a society where test scores are judged whether your school is, meets
Yearly progress, right.
Yeah, meets yearly progress or not, you'll take every little bit you can.
That's right. That's right. Once again, this was one of our teachers who did not need an extreme makeover. He's actually part of our green team. And this is a 5th grade classroom. This is how it looks all the time. And he's just done a great job. He's one of our mentors. Once again, things are nice and neat. Of course, the students' jackets, nothing's there because they've gone home for the day, but that's nicely organized.
I first looked at that picture and thought, oh, it must be summer vacation already, but that's actually a functioning classroom.
That's right.
It's just when the kids go home for the day, that's what it looks like.
So everything goes with them. Very
That's
nice.
right. That's right.
Should talk to my daughter's daycare.
Once again, I'm sure a lot of you have classroom game centers, and on the left there's one that, the students can't find what they're looking for. The tops aren't on the boxes. It's just, disorganized. So all we did is just organize everything, and like Sandy says, put like with like, so all the games are kind of in order and easy for a student to take out and play with, and then just a reminder to them to put it back where they found it. And this is at our high school, Laconia High School. Our high school green team student members did this. They completely remodeled their recycle area and painted this beautiful mural. We're very proud of our students that are involved with our green team. They kind of keep us going. So I believe that is the end.
That is.
It is.
Well, excellent. So this gives us an opportunity, since the webinar does allot us till 4:30, but we can go as long as we like. We do open this opportunity for you to ask any questions that you have of the presenters. And there we go. We have one already. So let me see, and I should have been prepared. I should have had this ready. Do you have any advice on getting people involved in the process, like getting teachers involved in the cleaning? What about teachers who are hesitant in cleaning out their classroom?
This is Sandy, and I would like to speak to that from the benefit of the teachers themselves. And that is, if a teacher is hesitant, it's because they don't know what's in it for them and their day-to-day life. And if you can bring up the ideas of what will improve for them if they manage to get involved and make it worth their while to spend the time to get to that point of organization, you're going to be able to win more of the battle. Some of those things include a more peaceful, calming environment. It includes being able to clean more easily. It includes being able to find the things when you need them such that you don't have that last minute panic when a student comes up and says, can I have such and such? And you know that you've seen it, but you're just not sure where it is. If everything has a place and they've bought into the idea of being a part of all of this, it's going to be much easier for them to find it. It sets a great example for the kids, and it makes your own words have more power. For example, let's say oftentimes you have difficulties finding a student's paper or finding something, and then when the student is looking for something for you and you say, well, don't you know where it is? The student can oftentimes, they may not say it. Most of them are smart enough not to. However, they may be thinking, but you can't find your stuff either. So by making it more of a buy-in, it's a win for everyone. And so focus on that first. Then, if they're still hesitant, see if there's someone who could give them a hand. Sometimes people are hesitant because they are in that paralysis state. Things are so completely overwhelming that they just simply don't know where to begin. Have a friend come in. Have another teacher who's a mentor. If all else fails, call me. Have me come in. But whatever, get help for the teacher because oftentimes they're just not sure how to do it. And so therefore, they're hesitant to even try. Anything to add from another perspective?
Well, the way we got them involved was just the gimmick of an extreme makeover, and we actually had about 12 teachers sign up, but we only had 4 that we worked with. So sometimes just a gimmick. Sometimes, like Sandy said, just they're afraid, and having somebody that's gone through it, you're more than welcome to give us a call, and I can give a couple teachers' phone numbers out to you, and you can give them a call or emails. I think we've had a great success rate with our people that have done it, and I think word's getting out just within our school district.
Jenna, I liked what you said, how you correlated it to weight loss. People become paralyzed.
Right.
It's so overwhelming. You know, if you find one small way to start, or if you get the tools or the help you need.
Right, right. And I think once you get started, then it gets going and it becomes easier.
I think it's contagious.
Right, right.
It's contagious among coworkers.
I agree.
Sometimes it takes a little while to get to that point, but I have yet to have a client or someone that I've worked with in an organizing job who hasn't eventually gotten to the point of, oh my gosh, this is so worth it because my life is just so much easier.
And there are no additional questions at this point. So just for those of you that are still on the line and still listening, don't forget to fill out the evaluation when it comes your way in the next 2 days. And there'll be a copy of the fact sheet as well, which will basically cover what today's presentation covered. And lastly, there will be this will be placed. There'll be a link to this going out to you as well, so you'll be able to listen to the presentation if you so choose to, or please pass it along to your coworkers. And we'll also have a link to this on the New Hampshire Partners for Healthy Schools website, which is NH Healthy School Environments.
Website?
It's somewhere. Oh, there it is. It's right at the top. See if I paid attention. New Hampshire Healthy School Environments.org or NHHealthySchoolEnvironments.org, where you can get a copy of this presentation with the whole webinar and all of our voices, lovely voices.
So also, we want to let people know about our next webinar. Now, it's
Yes.
not cast in stone, the date, but we know that in July that we're going to have Eugene Benoit, our Region 1 EPA representative, do a webinar on cleaning products, custodians, and summer cleaning products.
Excellent.
It's a real heavy time for them, a lot of chemical use in these schools, and we want to make sure people know what they need for ventilation, they're doing it right. So he has a new fact sheet that he's going to bring that expertise to this group.
And Eugene is brilliant. He had 70-plus people at his last webinar. So
He's
get in
brilliant.
because we cap out at 100. So if you're interested in participating, please get in before we shut off the registration. But we'll send that out in the near future with an explanation of what the program will be about. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we look forward to seeing you at a future or hearing from you at future webinars. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.